All right, see you in a little bit.
Sounds good. Alrighty, guys. Welcome into the After Schrock. Apologies that it took me a little bit longer there to get rolling, but we're good to go now. And I've figured out a bunch of other different stupid things that were causing problems in here that I've fixed, so yay us. All right, so we'll give everybody a couple seconds to get connected before we get started. And like I said, I got a couple of cool things that I thought was cool to talk about. Then, of course, if there's anything that you guys want to talk about as well, feel free to raise it up in the comment section, and we'll throw it in there and make sure that we get you covered. All right. Good morning, Shelly. Morning, Ronald. Good to have you. Al, good to see you, buddy. All righty. People are starting to roll in and get connected here, so we're good to go. So one of the things that I thought I disabled this stupid star stuff. I was going through all the advanced things because the video kept hiccuping so much. We didn't see very much hiccuping this week. Did you notice that? So I changed some video settings. I told Facebook just to stream the highest quality video rather than trying to decide what video is the best quality. And yeah, now all of a sudden, video's great. Yay. But I turned off this stupid stars thing because there was an option for it. I turned it off, and now it's back on, and I don't understand. But anyway, this thing, there's this currency, and I was reading Zero Hedge last night. I was putting my daughter to bed, and I came across this story about this currency. It's a paper currency called a Goldbacks. And a Goldbacks is a paper bill that actually has, through the wonders of science, gold woven into the bill. So a Goldbacks, for example, would be like, 1/1000th of an ounce of gold woven into a $5 Goldbacks bill. So the Goldbacks is supposedly, it's a fiat currency that is backed by gold that is portable, because that's one of the drawdowns of gold. You can't use gold to buy small stuff. You can't go to the grocery store and buy a dozen eggs with a gold coin, because number one, a 1 ounce gold coin is like $1,800. So, when you're going to buy eggs with that. Number two, if you get a gold coin small enough to buy eggs, the coin is so incredibly tiny that they're just easy to lose. It's like, why would you do that? So the Goldbacks solves that problem, giving you a familiar bill, like a dollar bill size bill that you can put in a wallet that has gold woven into it to preserve its value. And I don't know. I'm not. They're legal in. They're legal currency actually in Utah, Nevada, and New Hampshire. And each state has their own like artistic designs for the bills. It reminds me of like a little bit of like Confederacy money or like Civil War money. It's cool. It's one of those things where I'm like, you know what? I think I'm gonna get. I went out and I bought 3 of them, 3 of the $5 bills. I'm gonna frame them, put them on my wall or something. It would just be cool, I think, because it's kind of it's a midway point between, fiat paper currency that we all know is absolutely intrinsically worthless, and becoming less worth intrinsically every day. Then on the other hand, you've got crypto, and nobody really understands. I mean, again, intrinsically, it's not worth anything. Like you can't, you can't melt your crypto down and make a house out of it or something. But it's worth something because of its scarcity, something that fiat currency can't claim, because they always just print more of that. But with crypto, like Bitcoin, for example, has a finite supply. There will only be X number of Bitcoin ever made. And, well, they can just change that, Thor. Well, they can, but to change it, they would have to have a vote of the people that hold Bitcoin. That's how the changes work in Bitcoin. And so if you were a holder of Bitcoin, why on earth would you inflate the currency? That makes no sense. Why would you do that? Why would you make your holdings worth less? You wouldn't do that. So it's not going to happen. Now, Ethereum is really interesting because Ethereum, the reason there's talk that Ethereum eventually could be worth more than Bitcoin is because when you use Ethereum to make NFTs and other things, you're actually consuming the Ethereum. It's getting burnt. And so while there is not a finite supply of Ethereum like there is Bitcoin, it's being burnt at a rate faster than it's being created. So it's deflationary in nature. So it's kind of an interesting thing. Will it always be deflationary? I don't know. But it's just an interesting. There's so many projects and so many cryptos. You can find one that meets all the requirements you have, unless you're just dead set against crypto. But I thought these Goldbacks, or Goldbacks is what they're called, Goldback. You can learn more about them at goldback.com. And you can buy them there too. All the major gold and silver sellers like Ampex and every place, they sell these things. But they're literally, there's billions of dollars of these Goldbacks in circulation, and people use them to go to restaurants and eat in Utah and in New Hampshire, and they're legal currency in those states. So it was really just a phenomenal thing to see. I was like, how do I know all this about crypto and all this about all these other things, and I had no idea this even existed. So just goes to show you can learn something new every day, guys. So if you didn't know about Goldbacks, now you do. All right. Good morning, Mitch. Mary, good to have you. Oh, miss you too, Shelley. Miss you too a lot. Really, seriously do. All right. Cheryl and Rich, back again. Second cup in hand. Randy got it. Aaron's here. Good to have you. All right. Scrolling. Aaron says her Mac had a weird pop-up the other day that said Com Center wants to use the Login Keychain. It could be. The Login Keychain is the where your passwords are stored basically on your Mac. Let's take a look real quick. Okay, yeah, it's a Mac-related error that pops up on the screen. I'm scrolling down here because there's a lot of these things that, like, you install our software and we'll fix it for you, and it's just garbage. Yeah, it could be a problem with your keychain. You might have to delete your keychain and recreate it. It could be an account issue on your Mac. There's a checkbox that says lock after. If you check that, it shouldn't pop up again potentially. So there's a few things you can do, but yeah, it's not a virus or anything. It's legit. All right. Do you take the entire computer apart when you do a maintenance checkup? When you say take the entire computer apart, there's degrees of that. So for example, if it's a laptop and we don't need to disassemble it, we don't disassemble it unnecessarily. We can achieve the cleaning that we need to do by reverse blowing the fans. So the airflow in a laptop comes up from the bottom and out the back. And so by blowing in the back, we can shoot all that lint out the bottom, right? So we reverse blow the fans basically to make sure that everything gets cleaned out and is clear and running well there. On a computer, for example, we will take the side panel off. On desktop, we will blow out all the internal fans and heat sinks and drives and crevices and cracks and USB ports and all that stuff. But we don't, for example, remove the fan from the computer and then physically clean the fan and put new paste on it and put it back on and all that stuff. You know, we don't go down to component level unless there's a reason to. So basically, it's a maintenance check. It's just like if you go in for an oil change, they don't pull out your spark plugs and inspect them. You know, it's the same thing. There's a reasonable expectation that, okay, your thermal paste is okay. And unless we're seeing overheating issues, then we will repaste it. If we're seeing the temperatures of everything go too hot, which is why we run a CPU stress test during the maintenance checkup to see if things get too hot, and then we can adjust and deal with that accordingly. So do we take the whole thing apart? We do take the side off, and we do get inside and blow everything out, but we don't actually take each component out and then like physically clean it and put it back in. That you don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. All right, last week I mentioned my neighbor getting an email about buying Windows Defender. This week I received an email from Norton about renewing a 5-year subscription for $549. Yep, yeah, Randy, that's a real thing. That happens. In fact, I don't know if you guys have been getting these the last couple days. I have, between 6:30 and 8 o'clock this morning, received 3 emails from LinkedIn, supposedly from LinkedIn. LinkedIn telling me, we've got a message for you. LinkedIn telling me, you've appeared in 7 searches this week. That was at 7:14. Then at 8:09, I guess I'm hot, right? Because I've appeared in 8 searches this week now. Woohoo, baby! That's more than one a day. People be searching for the Schrock. I don't know if these are real LinkedIn emails or not. I did click unsubscribe, and I'm still just getting them. Sometimes it takes them 24 or 48 hours to process and unsubscribe because, technology. When you unsubscribe from Schrock, you don't get more emails from Schrock. There it is. If you call us and say, I don't want your stupid friggin' phone calls. Don't call me to remind me about things. Turn off the auto. You don't get calls, you might get one call at the end where we're like, sir, your antivirus is about to expire like in an hour. Why didn't you call me sooner? You told us not to. All right. Let's see. Enjoy the weather. Had ice and snow at Lake of the Ozarks. No mail delivery for 3 days. Holy cow. Oh, let's see. Randy says, I did receive a pop-up telling me to turn on Windows Defender Firewall. Should it be on? It's up to you. It doesn't really add anything of value. It just slows the internet connection down a little bit. Mine's turned off, if that tells you anything. Sophos has it taken care of. All right. Let's see. Have you had any experience with ecotank printers? Are they a good replacement for a laser printer? I do have some experience with the Epson ecotank. My wife actually has one. They are not a good replacement for a laser printer. But that doesn't mean they're a bad printer. Let me explain. So we homeschool. And so my wife prints a lot of stuff, for example, on cardstock. She prints a lot of stuff that consumes a lot of ink, specific colors of ink as well, ironically. So the Epson ecotank printer allows her to refill the ink tank for the ink that gets used the most, so she doesn't have to replace the entire cartridge and throw away the extra ink that's in the other colors in there. The second thing is that the design of the printer, the ecotank printer is like a 1995 inkjet printer. It's got a direct draw paper that goes from the top and down, as opposed to a lot of the HPs, which take the paper down and bend it and fold it back through. You can't do that with cardstock. And so if you are looking to print on heavier materials, you need to have a direct flow printer like that, and Epson is one of the best ones that comes to direct flow printing. So why is it not better than a LaserJet? The print speed is low. It's very slow. You're not going to get the same page per minute rate that you would get out of a LaserJet. Also, even though it's still an Epson ecotank, your cost per page is still going to be higher than a LaserJet. So it depends the reasons that you're going after it, what you're looking for. But the Epson ecotank is a really good printer. It works really well. They did a software update actually, and when my wife upgraded to Windows 11, it just installed. It was great. So it worked out real well. Alrighty, let's see. Please talk about the Feds pushing hard against crypto, and now they're talking about starting their own crypto. All right, so here's what's going on. So the Biden administration said they wanted to create a, what's the word called? A executive order that authorized federal agencies and instructed them to begin exploring the threats of cryptocurrency. Where did this come from? I think it came from the fact that the Biden administration is genuinely considering cutting Russia off from the SWIFT banking network should they invade the Ukraine. That move will have repercussions well beyond Russia and the Ukraine. It could be serious because the SWIFT banking network is the method by which banks move money between banks, right? So, for example, in Russia, they created their own version of the SWIFT network just in case we ever cut them off. That version of their network they created years ago only processes 20% of their domestic bank-to-bank transactions. The rest are handled by SWIFT. So we're literally talking about destroying their economy's ability to move money back and forth. Now, if we do that to Russia, we did it to Iran. Iran is Iran, though, right? This is Russia. This is a big nuclear country. If we do this to Russia, China's got to be sitting there saying, why on earth would we allow the Americans to have this kind of power over us? There needs to be a competing system that people can choose to use in the event the SWIFT network is not available. Now, the challenge is if anybody tries to compete or create a competing network, they get kicked out of SWIFT, right? So you don't create a competing network because you don't want to lose SWIFT, so the Americans have power over you because of the banking network. Okay. Enter crypto. Let's say we kick Russia out of SWIFT. Their domestic service is only handling 20% of their domestic transfers, none of the international stuff. Literally, internationally, they are iced if that happens. They cannot conduct business, they can't sell oil, they can't do anything. So how would they get around that? Because Russians are very creative people. How would they get around that? Probably crypto. They could use Bitcoin pretty easily, actually. Lots of Bitcoin exists in Russia right now, and it's not like borders really matter to Bitcoin. The U.S. government can't stop Bitcoin. They can't even know who's exchanging Bitcoin with Russia. You can't even sanction people. What are you going to do? Freeze their banking assets? It's Bitcoin. It's unseizable. It's unfreezable. It's literally freedom money, for better or for worse. And so as a result, the U.S. government says, can we really allow a technicality like that in the system? And I think that's how they're looking at it right now. They're looking at it as a technicality in the system. It's a $1 million, oh crap scenario that if everything falls perfectly and Russia uses Bitcoin to evade this, it's an imperfect solution to a really bad problem that will allow them a little bit of breathing room and will make the sanctions a little bit less intense. But it's not like there's any ecosystem in place in Russia to implement Bitcoin interbank transfers internationally. It's not going to happen overnight. So Biden wants the U.S. government to study Bitcoin from a national security perspective. In other words, we have all this power over other countries because we control banking. If Bitcoin becomes international money, what does that do to America's control of international banking? I think that's what they're looking at. Now, FedCoin is different. FedCoin is not a cryptocurrency. If FedCoin is a cryptocurrency, the U.S. dollar is a cryptocurrency, because your U.S. dollars, you probably have a lot more dollars in your bank account than you have in your wallet, right? And there is not a dollar at the bank for every dollar you have in your bank account. It's a promissory note. It's a loan, full faith and credit. So it's a note that you have that says the Federal Reserve owes you money, a dollar's worth of money. Fed coin is the same thing. It's a digital coin that's a note. It's a digital loan. It's more like DeFi, actually. So the thing that this does for the federal government, though, number one, when they move to Fed coin, it's going to be because all of our banking tech is like so 1970s. And it really is. I mean, we're still running Cobalt servers, for heaven's sake. So, you can't transact business on weekends with banks. You can't make credit card payments on the weekends. You can't process anything. You don't get deposits on the weekends if you're a business from your credit cards that you take over the days. You have to wait 2 business days to get your money normally. And then after you wait 2 business days, if there's a weekend, now you're waited 4 business days to get the money that you earned 4 days ago. Well, in today's economy, that's a long time to wait to get your money, so that you can then reinvest it into additional products and services and pay people and do all that stuff. FedCoin solves all of this, giving us a 24/7 banking system that is completely reliable, that is completely trackable, that is impossible to steal, that would require everybody to have a bank account. Even the unbanked would have a bank account, because you literally cannot, there is no cash. There is no physical money that you can get. How do people beg if there's FedCoin? Do you have like a QR code? Like, do I scan your QR code? How do you do that? How does that work? Do I actually drop a sandwich in your cup? Like, I don't know how that works. So anyway, that's FedCoin. And so it's different. FedCoin is about control. FedCoin is about tracking and tracing and taxing. Bitcoin is about freedom and preservation of value. So in other words, if they go to FedCoin, there's still going to be inflation. They can still make as many FedCoins as they want. It's not like, just like I said with Bitcoin, Bitcoin has a finite supply. There will only be this many million Bitcoin ever. Ethereum doesn't have a finite supply, but right now, the way the numbers are working, more Ethereum is getting burnt than is getting created. And the rate of creation is actually going down for a lot of different reasons. So you can have different cryptocurrencies with different scarcity values. Do you really think FedCoin is going to be scarce? No, it's not. But they will be able to know where every single FedCoin in existence is. The difference here is this will be a private ledger because you won't be able to look at the FedCoin ledger and see where the federal money went. Like if the federal government buys a bunch of tanks and stuff and then that company takes that money and buys a bunch of components and all that money eventually ends up in China, you won't be able to, you don't get a blockchain that you can look at and you can follow the bouncing ball all the way back to China. You don't get that with FedCoin. With Bitcoin, you get that. With Ethereum, you get that. But you don't get that with FedCoin. So FedCoin's a little bit different. Okay. What kind of paste do you use for cooling? Perhaps horse paste? Did you say horse paste? No, we use thermal paste. It's an actual paste. Some of it has silver in it, depends on the type you get. But it's actually a paste that is made for computer applications, for specifically designed to transfer heat between metal pieces. Oh, the lovely Kimberly says the print speed on the ecotank isn't bad unless you get your print quality set really high. Alrighty. Use Ripple. Yeah, Ripple's another one. Russians could be printing extra rubles and load them onto transport planes. They could, but I mean, I think Russia's been down the ruble road before, you know what I mean? Remember when there was going to be a golden ruble? Because they had to get some faith in their currency? All right. FedCoin plus the government has complete control over FedCoin. Yeah, they will. That's exactly right. I could hire you to complete the. Could I hire you to complete my PCI certification? I hated doing that. Oh, I hated doing that so bad. That's why one of the reasons we switched to Braintree. Number one, Braintree is a PayPal subsidiary, and so we were able to integrate that with our website and process everything through the website, throughout all of our locations. So no more credit card terminals, no more swiping, no more printing out the receipts and getting the little signatures on them. None of that. It's all online now, and it's so much nicer. And it integrated with our website so quickly because they're a PayPal subsidiary. They're used to doing digital money. So it works really well. The only downer is, like I mentioned, it takes 2 days for us to get paid. So when you use a card at Schrock, we don't actually get that money for 2 days. So when you do a refund and you don't get it back for 2 days, that's why. It's not us. We didn't get it for 2 days either. All right. What are we talking in terms of crypto mainstream use? 20 years, more or less? The dollar has such a first mover status that I don't really see cryptocurrencies overtaking day-to-day spending in our economy anytime in the next 20 years. Unless there is an event that makes it necessary. So, for example, massive inflationary event, where wheelbarrows full of cash kind of event, where people are like, I'd rather just use crypto. Not enough people currently understand crypto. There's a lot of people watching this broadcast right now that probably, if I held a gun to their head and told them to transfer a tenth of a Bitcoin, they couldn't do it. Well, as the younger people move in to the demographic, more and more of a higher percentage of people will be able to understand what crypto is, will already have the accounts set up to move and handle crypto. They'll be natively able to do this better. You're seeing people taking part of their paychecks in crypto. A little bit of that is kind of a gimmick right now. You'll see a lot of the stories like, what a dummy, he took his paycheck in Bitcoin and Bitcoin fell by 50%. What a dummy, right? Well, what a dummy until Bitcoin goes up to $100,000 a coin, and then he's a really freaking smart guy. But anyway, I have a view on cryptocurrencies like they're a new asset class, where you have your stocks and your bonds and your currency trading, and then you have cryptocurrency. And cryptocurrency isn't taxed the way Forex trading is, and it's not taxed the way property is taxed, because it kind of crosses the boundaries of those two things. It needs a framework. So I'm not terrified when they talk about coming up with legislation to regulate cryptos. I think regulating it is the first step in mainstreaming it, actually. Now the question is, who's going to be doing the regulating, and what are the regulations going to be? That's where everything gets hairy. But I'm not inherently just against regulation and saying, hey, this is craziness. But here's the thing: Bitcoin will only be regulated as much as Bitcoin chooses to be regulated. So it doesn't matter if China outlaws Bitcoin. They've outlawed Bitcoin 4 times. If China can't do it, Russia certainly can't do it. And if neither one of them can do it, what do you think the odds are that America can do it? So it's not going anywhere. It's not gone. You can push it underground. You can push it around. You can make it more or less valuable. You can make it more difficult to change into fiat and back and forth. But a lot of the people who are into crypto because they're not into fiat. That's why I said when people ask me, Thor, what should I do? Should I buy? Should I sell? Like I said, one of the things, should you sell the fade or should you fade the pump here? Bitcoin is way up. It's going to come down tomorrow. Should you, genuinely, I think it's going to come down tomorrow. This is like the weekend pattern. Sunday, about midday, it's going to start to waver. And then Monday, it's going to go clunk in the morning. Don't know why. Just will. So should you sell it right now? Take your profits and then buy in lower and get more Bitcoin. It depends why you're in Bitcoin. It depends why you're here. If you are here to maximize the US dollar value of your Bitcoin, trade accordingly. If you are here to maximize the amount of Bitcoin you have in a wallet, trade accordingly. If you're not a trader, but you think that there's a future for crypto, that maybe you don't think right now it's going to be super valuable, but in the future it will be, or maybe it's just a hedge for you to have something in case that all the world's currencies go to heck in a handbasket. Buy it and hold it. Go diamond hands. Just buy it and forget you have it. It's counterintuitive, I know, but there's my dad collected coins for years, and some of those coins are so weird. And so he was into Swedish and Scandinavian coins. And some of those coins are so far out there, they're so specialized that nobody else really wants them. But there aren't a lot of them out there, so they're really valuable, but nobody wants them. And Al Schrock once told me, a thing is worth what a person will pay for it. So if no one will pay for it, Dad, it's not really worth anything. But it's valuable, right? So is Bitcoin the valuable Swedish coin that your dad kept for 20 years because he thought it was valuable? Or is Bitcoin the silver or gold bullion coin that Grandpa gave you on your birthday that you didn't appreciate at the time you got it, but then 20 years later you really wish you'd have kept them all? That's the gamble right now. Horse paste is sold next to horse pills. Oh, okay. Got it. All right. So speaking of, if we're going to go down the road of controversial things, have you heard what happened with the Freedom Convoy? The Freedom Convoy are the truckers that are occupying Canada and blocking border crossings and things like that. Well, here's the thing. You got to be really careful with some of the media reports that you're hearing because, number one, people are really fed up with the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa because it's shutting down their town and shutting down their ability to get around. Actually, it's not. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police are closing intersections down and blocking off roads to keep people from reinforcing the Freedom Convoy. So the road closures are actually the Canadian government doing that. And then the truckers are getting the blame because we wouldn't have to do this if they weren't here. So you have to be a little careful with the media reports. Well, so these truckers are technically violating the law, right? They are technically parking in roadways that are not supposed to be obstructed. They should be ticketed for this. This is, what do they call it? When you knowingly break a law, but you do it peacefully to prove a point. This is like the 1960s, guys. I mean, this is like getting on the back of the bus, sitting up in the front in the white seats. Except, I'm not comparing it to racism. What I'm comparing it to is the reason these truckers are doing what they're doing is because they're opposed to the mandates. They're not opposed to vaccines. They're opposed to these mandates because literally the thing that pushed them over the line is Canada imposed mandates, and the U.S. as well, that literally makes it impossible for you to be an unvaccinated trucker. So they're not telling you have to be vaccinated. They're not making it a law. They're not going to put a gun to your head and shoot you if you don't get vaccinated. But you won't be able to be a trucker, which is what you do for a living, which is how you make your money and how you've made your money for years. And you can go into a complete career change if you wanted to, but you're not going to be a trucker if you're not vaccinated. And so the truckers were like, no, because half are not vaccinated, and they don't plan to get vaccinated for whatever reason. And so as a result, they're like, no, this is too far. This is too much. And so they said, if we can't truck, if we can't do our job, well, we got to have something to do, right? Maybe we'll come hang out with you, Justin. And so there you go. So these guys are getting a lot of tickets. These tickets, I don't know, how often can you ticket someone for obstructing a road? Is it like a once a day thing? Is it an hourly thing? Can you just keep writing the tickets over and over again as they continue to obstruct the road? I don't know. Not complying with law enforcement orders. Lots of things these guys are getting charged with. Sound really serious. They're the ones getting eggs thrown at them right now. People are throwing eggs at the trucks. Yesterday we had a counter demonstration, the first one that happened, and in this counter demonstration, somebody smashed an SUV into the convoy, injuring 3 people. Nothing violent was happening when the truckers were just there doing their thing. I mean, they were honking their horns really loud, right? And the diesel rumble is keeping people up at night, and they don't like that. But nobody was attacking anybody. Nobody was beating anybody down in the streets. Nobody was doing violent things or screaming racial slurs. And yes, you got a few kooks in the crowd. I've seen videos. You know, there was some QAnon guy that showed up in one of the convoy things and was, talking about the queen of something or other and how, blessings be upon you and all this stuff. And the truckers were like, why are you here? Like, you're hijacking our movement. Get out of here. We don't want you here. So it's like they're very on point, very much so. So there's a lot of tickets happening, and you need money to pay tickets, right? These guys aren't made of money. They're truckers. They're blue-collar guys. Yes, truckers can make a pretty good living, but, they're not independently wealthy, right? So these tickets add up. So they started a GoFundMe. The organizers of the Freedom Convoy started a GoFundMe that raised over $9 million from everyday people all over the world who support what's going on with this convoy. And they want to make sure their tickets get paid for. So first response was GoFundMe says this is a legit thing. We funded Black Lives Matter too. So, I mean, this is legit, okay? Number 2, the heat gets turned up a lot. And again, you don't hear about any of this happening in local media. You don't hear about it on Fox. You don't hear about it on CNN or any network. But did you know the Ottawa police they have publicly said they're going to be looking into the donation history of anyone who has donated to the Freedom Convoy because they are responsible for aiding and abetting an unlawful occupation. So I think January 6th, if there had been a GoFundMe to fund people so they could get on buses to go to the Capitol on January 6th, and you contributed to the GoFundMe, now you are an insurrectionist. That's what they were saying. Well, it didn't slow anybody down. They raised a ton of money. So eventually, the pressure got so intense on GoFundMe that GoFundMe said, okay, now there's illegal stuff happening. This isn't what we signed up for, even though it's completely contrary to when illegal things happened around the whole protests in 2020, we didn't stop funding those organizations, but that's okay. We're going to stop funding the Freedom Convoy. We're canceling the fundraiser. If you want your money back, send a donation return request. Here's the procedure on how to do it. Any donations that are not reclaimed by their original donors will be redirected to other charities. And immediately the Twitterverse exploded. There's a thing called getting ratioed. And when you have a tweet that gets ratioed, that means the ratio of people who do not like it are way higher than the people who are clicking like. And so literally GoFundMe got trashed on Twitter. You're stealing $9 million and giving it to a charity of your choice? Are you going to give it to Black Lives Matter? Are you going to give it to Planned Parenthood? Or who are you going to give the $9 million to if people don't ask for it back? Well, then you see, these guys, these truckers, they are running their own businesses, guys. And when you run your own business, you'll learn little factoids. For example, When you sign up for Secure Updater or Sophos with Schrock Innovations, it's a subscription. You put a card on file. Every year we charge the card. So when we charge your card, if you see a charge from Schrock Innovations on your bank account and you didn't want the service, please just call us. We never, ever, ever give anybody ever any flack over canceling a service subscription they didn't mean to renew. Whether it's Schrock Desk, whether it's Sophos, whether it's Secure Updater, any of them. Number one, we're not going to lose a customer over a $30 renewal. That's stupid. Number two, do you know that when you charge back a credit card, it actually costs us $25 on top of the refund amount we have to pay you? So if it's a $30 subscription and you charge it back, rather than just picking up the phone and calling us, you call your credit card company instead, which every month we get one or two. Somebody did it for a $74 Sophos renewal. They forgot they had Sophos. They didn't know what it was. And of course, there'll be the same person who's upset when their antivirus stops working because they charged it back. But yeah, so there's a chargeback. So then we have to give the $74. The $74 is immediately taken from us. We don't have a choice or an option or a dispute or anything. It's immediately removed from the bank account. A $25 fee is assessed on top of that and immediately removed from the bank account. And then we have to respond to the dispute. Then we have to spend human resources time to respond to the dispute to make sure, okay, did this person actually know what they were doing? Did they mean to cancel it? Do we accept the dispute? Like, in other words, it's all good, we're cool, because we can't refund you once you dispute, because then we're going to double refund, because we already gave you a refund because it was already taken from the bank account by the credit card company. So, long story short, somebody gets on Twitter and says, don't use their stupid refund request. Do a chargeback. And someone said, well, that's illegal. You can't tell the credit card company it was an unauthorized transaction when you authorized it. Well, you authorized a donation to the Freedom Convoy, and GoFundMe is not giving the money to the Freedom Convoy. They have taken it. Therefore, they are in violation of the terms of their transaction. So, yeah, you can file a dispute, and it's legal. And every single person that contributed $1 to the Freedom Convoy can ding GoFundMe for $25. And you think that these people are not going to be motivated to do that? To take the 5 minutes out of their day to make a phone call to cost GoFundMe $25? Yeah, it was going to happen. GoFundMe freaked. And they immediately refunded it. They put out some PR thing that was like, to make the process simple for everybody and as transparent as possible, we're going to bypass our normal refund procedure and automatically refund everybody who has contributed to the Freedom Convoy. And they're going to give all the money back now. So Gibson Go is a Christian-based funding group that ends up funding a lot of things that GoFundMe won't, usually culture war kind of things. As well as, like, they have so when you have a campaign there, it's kind of cool. You can fund a campaign, you can contribute, or there's prayer request. You can click prayer request, and they'll tell you what they want you to pray for, and then you can just do it. If you don't have any money to give, you can send prayers. So in 12 hours on Give Send Go, as soon as the campaign went live, Give Send Go went under a denial of service attack. That is basically when so many incoming connections are hitting their servers that their server can't keep up and goes offline because it just can't respond to everybody. So some people just don't get responded to, which results in a blank page. So the question here is, was Give Send Go getting hit with a denial of service attack, or were that many millions of people trying to go to Give Send Go immediately to place their contribution there that they just got back from GoFundMe, so these truckers' tickets can be paid? We don't really know. All I know is I did try to go to the Give Send Go page for this thing to see before the show here, just to double check everything, make sure everything was still the way I thought it was, and I got a gateway error. In other words, they had Cloudflare running to protect it. Cloudflare said, sorry, it's not us, it's the gateway. The server can't keep up. In the first 18 hours, they've almost raised $1 million already. They said it took them 30 days to raise $9 million. Now in 18 hours, they're up to $1 million. So, yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? It's all the things that got funded by GoFundMe through 2020 and 2021, that were attacking police officers and doing encampments and the Chop and the Chaz thing up in Oregon. That got funded through GoFundMe. They literally took over blocks of a city and burnt down a police precinct, and that was funded by GoFundMe. I'm pretty sure those things are illegal, but they didn't have a problem funding that because there was no social outrage, or they felt the social outrage was on their side. Well, now they're getting everyone that they talk to that they care about is hitting them with, you can't let this happen. Why are you letting this happen? Without you, they don't have any money. And as a result, there was a guy in the crowd, a trucker, holding up a sign, and on his sign it said, Bitcoin fixes this. Because you can't cancel Bitcoin. You can't stop Bitcoin from being sent. The problem is you can't pay tickets in Bitcoin. So you have to convert it into fiat somewhere, and that's where you're going to get hung up right now. But you get the idea. So that's what's going on with the Freedom Convoy. If you're interested in contributing to that, I'm sure that they would appreciate your contribution. It's Give, Send, Go is the website where the campaign is located, and you can go there and place a contribution if you were. Civil disobedience. That's right. That's what I was looking for. Where you're breaking a law, and you know you're breaking a law, but you're breaking an unjust law. You're breaking a law that is, well, not just. So the difference here is that you can't truck unvaccinated. Like literally, you can't do it. So no one will give you a load. So what law do you break unjustly? Well, they're going to break traffic laws. They're going to sit at intersections. And everyone's like, well, you can't. They're blocking the shoulders. They're blocking everything. Emergency vehicles can't get in. Have you ever noticed that every time that there's like a video from the Freedom Convoy group, they're always at a local Ottawa bar or restaurant? So they're getting in and out, guys. I mean, there's traffic moving unless they're blocking the roads, which the police department has been blocking the roads to prevent people from getting in and out and using the bathroom and getting food. Anything to make life more uncomfortable, to make them go home more quickly. I heard the police around the trucker convoy are supporting the truckers, looking the other way. Yeah, I heard that the state police called tow truck companies to come tow the trucks, and well, let's just say the tow truck companies told them what they could tow, where they could take their towed vehicles. They're not gonna tow it. New offense every 24 hours usually. That makes sense. That's a lot of tickets. Alrighty. All right, so is there anything else? I think there was a third thing I was going to go over. Oh, the crypto rally. Should you sell it? Should you not? I kind of already touched on that a little bit. Last I checked, which was this morning at 5:30, which the world can change at 5:30, crypto was doing really well. You got to be careful with percentages up and down because the markets are 24 hours a day, so there's always going to be peaks and troughs, so you can always be up or down. You just kind of know where the number is. Ethereum is at 2,981 right now, so right around 3,000. Bitcoin is at 41,300. Let me see, 24-hour high on Bitcoin was 42,000, 24-hour low was 41,000. So literally, it's just chilling out in that range. Like I said, I think tomorrow it's going to drop a little bit again. People will buy again, and then this is how it works: volatility, and then sudden movements. Now we saw sudden downward movements recently, right? Boo, 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 down, down, down. Now imagine, just for a moment in your brain, what's going to happen when we have a sudden upward movement again, because it's going to happen. If you've acquired Bitcoin at these prices, you are going to be sitting very pretty if it goes up 50%. It went down 50%, so it can go up 50% too. In fact, last year it was up 100% plus. So just something to keep in mind, guys. If you're in the camp of people who acquire crypto, I'd be really cautious about selling right now on these intermediate blips. Keep your eye on the prize. 2025 at the latest, $100,000 a coin if you're concerned about US dollar values. Anything you sell under $100,000 is stupid. 130 is probably going to end up where we see like the peak, and then it'll drop back down to like 90, and then we'll bounce it back and forth in there for a while. By 2026, I think it's supposed to be $1 million a coin according to the stock to flow model. That is if demand. Okay, you have to realize when it comes to Bitcoin, if every millionaire on the planet wanted one Bitcoin, there is not enough Bitcoin to go around. Ever. There will never be. Yeah, it's phenomenal when you think about how actually scarce this stuff is. Now, then again, it's also as scarce as digital Pokemon, right? I mean, you could make an argument that it's not real, so how can it be scarce? You see what I'm saying? But then again, you could also make the argument that the value perception of the U.S. dollar is not real, and it's certainly not scarce. So it's worth money because we all believe it's worth money. And I was thinking about this the other day. In my school, my daughter's school, they have this thing where they give them Mustang bucks. When teachers notice the kids doing something nice or being kind to somebody else, they'll give them like a Mustang buck. And then at the end of the week, they can take their Mustang bucks or whatever and buy a prize from the prize bin with it. So what they've done is they've created a currency within the school building that has a perceived value to the students. A currency that doesn't cost the school anything to create. How is that any different than what we do with the U.S. dollar? Just a really big school building. Prizes have to be pretty good, though, right? What are those prizes? Yeah. Used to be songs about wanting to be a millionaire. Now I'm not sure. It's like if you're Jeff Bezos or Elon. You're like, I want to be a trillionaire. I don't. All right, guys. I got to wrap her up here. Last call for questions before we get rolling. Oh, let's see here. What app are you using on your phone to check the price of crypto? Yeah, I'm using Coinbase. Of course, different apps will give you different values. There is some arbitrage that sometimes happens between different apps. The thing to watch out for, if you see two different services that are wildly divergent in price, that's usually a sign. Excuse me. It's usually a sign that something is wrong with one of the two services, usually the one at the higher price. They're trying to attract the crypto to their service for some reason, and that's usually a sign of a problem. I use the crypto app. All right, no problem, Deborah. Thank you for being here, everybody. We appreciate it. I appreciate your business over at the service centers as well. If you've been in there recently, thank you. I really appreciate it. If it's been a little while since your last visit and you need a maintenance checkup, or maybe you're looking to maybe upgrade that computer so you can run Windows 11 or do things like that, now's a great time to come in. This time of year, January is usually pretty good. Then February is kind of wobbly. And then we start going into the spring, and things slow down for the computer repair industry in the spring. People get out from behind their computers. They start to travel. Wow, travel, right? They start to garden. They start to do things outside. And when that happens, we see less people using computers, which means they break them less, or they use them less. So as a result, we tend to see things slow down a little bit in the service centers. So this is a great time to come in for those maintenance checkups. If you have a maintenance checkup certificate, now's a great time to use it. Then definitely come in and check that out. And if you've never been to a Schrock service center before, please remember that your first hour of labor is free as a new customer. We don't charge anything for your first visit. You can come on in, try us out. If you like it, you stay. And if you don't, hey, you didn't lose a thing by trying. Thanks so much for being here. We appreciate it. Have a great week, guys, and we'll see you next Sunday.